Hello, hello, hello. This is Christine Peckstein coming at you live from my headquarters. And today's episode is on fixing other people. So many times we get caught up in this. We think that, it's our responsibility to fix what's broken in somebody's life, or we see where they're suffering, or we see what their needs are, or we see what they're lacking, or we see how they're living, or, things that have gone wrong in their lives, and we feel responsible for it. And so we want to fix it, but we can't do it. We cannot fix another person, whether it's something that's happened in their life that you just feel, genuinely sorry for them, or, you feel like you're in a position to help, and you can help, but you can't fix. Help and fixing are two different things. Helping is offering assistance for a period of time, or maybe giving them a hand up or something, but you cannot fix their lives, because the fixing has to come from them. It's something that they decide to do, either because they change their habits, or because they're going to seize different opportunities, or if it's a behavioral issue, it's something that they know they need to work on, and they've decided that, the change is important enough for them to actually do something about it, because it's really easy to talk about change. We all know this because we set resolutions and goals and things all the time. And how many of them do we actually accomplish? Change is easier spoken than it is done. And so some things we do change, but others we don't. We just decide that actually it wasn't a real priority. And we know from our life and stress management training at my website, moveintoaction.com, there's a big difference between goals and priorities and so forth. A lot of people have goals, but it's just not a priority, because what do we succeed in? The priorities, unless we don't have our priorities straight, and then chaos succeeds, or we find that we've lived our whole life for everything that we didn't really want to live it for, and we never got to live for our priorities because we didn't have them straight. But we have to look at habits and the way somebody lives their life and so forth. And honestly, when you see something that's broken in somebody's life and it is a concern to you, because you've got friends, you've got family, you've got, people in community that you see, and you might really look and say, man, there's a problem here. And it's okay to speak truth into somebody's life. And absolutely, sometimes it's necessary to speak truth into somebody's life and say, I really think there's a problem here. How can I help you? I'll walk with this through you if you'd like. I'll take that first step, because oftentimes when we go to change something in our lives, we realize that the first step is the hardest. It's the scariest. It's the one that, if we fail, we just feel like, we're going to be trapped, or we don't know what comes after that. And it's super scary. So we don't even bother taking the first step. Well, and I'm saying we, because we've all been there. So if you see somebody that's really struggling, or they have a habit or an addiction or something like that. And I'm specifically going to talk about alcoholism today. Alcohol is something that is readily available. People have access to it. It's not illegal unless you're underage. But other than that, it's something in our culture that's just widely accepted as okay. And we may see habits in people's lives, even people that can function. There's the functional alcoholic. It's the person that can function while they're drinking, and they think it's okay because, well, I'm functioning okay, so I don't have a problem. And that's not necessarily true. There can be an issue going on, even though they are functioning. And at one time or another, it will catch up with them. So when you see that going on, it's okay to either question it or just speak truth into somebody's life. But there's a difference in making the changes for them and making them responsible for making those changes. So we can speak truth to them, but we can't do the changes, and we shouldn't, because the responsibility is theirs. And here's what happens when you take on the responsibility for somebody else's life, or things in their life that they should be doing, or things in their life that they need to change, but they choose not to. If they choose not to, there's really not a whole lot you can do. And if you're trying to do it for them, what's happening is you're burning yourself out. You're using your time, your energy, and your resources for something that is not your responsibility. It's not a priority of yours. And so you're going to end up burning yourself out, because unless a person chooses change, they're not going to follow through. But that's their choice. Even if they don't act on it, even if they have everything they need to do clearly written out and they know it, I need to do this, and I think I need to work on that, and maybe you've had this conversation before, or you haven't, or they say, I know what I got to do. But if they choose not to do it, or they just ignore it, even inaction is a choice. Not doing something is a choice. It's a choice that they made, and it's not your responsibility to constantly follow up with them and say, hey, did you get this done? If they're an adult, that's their responsibility. And if they fail, they will hopefully learn from it. And sadly, in order for people to truly change and to realize that something is wrong, they have to hit rock bottom. The hard part is that we have to watch them do it. It's sad. It hurts. It sucks. We wish it could be different. But honestly, that is the truth. And sometimes that's the way it has to play out. So the responsibility for life change, especially with addictions and things like that, is on that person. You can't force it. Now, you can help them. You can, do what you can to help them locate resources, but you also need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. As the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's the truth. You can lead a person to everything they need, but if they choose not to go, if they choose not to take part in, if they choose not to do what they know they need to do, or what they think they need to do, or even what they might even fear they need to do, because sometimes realizing that there's an addiction, that person is scared to death. All of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I have an addiction, and they didn't know it, and they could just be scared, and they don't want to take that first step because why? It's scary. So, maybe you go that first, or you help them locate the resources and things like that. But after that, they've got to be the one to go to the support groups, to go to their therapist, to work on their lives. But something that you have to do also, because you cannot change the other person. You cannot force it. You need to make sure that you are engaging in self-care. It's that life area of rest and relaxation. It is that self-improvement. You need to take time out to make sure that you are getting the self-care that you need. Because if you don't, you're going to burn out, and you're going to try to take on the world, take on things that are not your responsibility, and you're going to kill yourself trying. And if you do that for multiple people, if you are running around like a chicken with your head cut off and you are trying to manage other people's lives, something's wrong there. You need to stop and think about it. Whose life are you responsible for managing? Now, there are certain times and certain circumstances that would make it appropriate for you to manage another person's life. Maybe that person is incapable of making sound decisions and you have the power. Maybe you are, legally able by power of attorney or whatever to help that individual make those decisions, and you need to follow up on that. That's much different. But if you don't, if that person is in charge of their own life and everything else and everything, they need to be the one that is doing that. And if they're not, unfortunately, it's just a thing where you're going to have to be brutally honest. You're going to have to speak that tough love into their life, and you are going to have to make sure that you're not enabling that behavior. Because while you can't change somebody else's life, here's the other side of it. You can't enable it either. You do not want to enable it, because you will not help them. All you'll do is set them back. You're going to set them deeper into their addiction. You're going to help them find excuses and reasons why they don't need help, why they don't need to change, why they think they can handle it, because they're delusioned. They don't understand it. And so they think they've got it under control when actually they don't. It has them. It is controlling them. And so you don't want to engage in the addiction process by actually making sure that, or enabling them and giving them what it is that they need, or making them think that they don't need that help. Because if you enable that behavior, they're just going to postpone it. They're always going to have an excuse. They're going to have something other than themselves to blame it on. They will blame it on either hereditary issues, or they're going to blame it on, stress, or they're going to blame it on other things that have occurred. They may even blame it on, you're pushing me toward this, and no, that's not true. But if you enable them, it's going to make it much harder for them to seek the help that they need, because they will be hindered from seeing the truth. So speak the truth. You can say, there is a problem here, and this must be addressed. You need to do something about it. I'm deeply concerned about you, but if they choose not to do that, you can't fix it. So, like I said, the other thing is just make sure that you're not enabling it, because it's not going to help the situation, and they are always going to find an excuse, and that is what they're going to stand upon. And instead of seeking help, they're going to stand on their excuses and so forth. So think about it. Look for the local resources. You need self-care, and if you know somebody has an issue and you don't know what to do about it, seek out the local resources. Seek out support groups, even for yourself. Yes, they're there for the person that's addicted. They're there for the person that is in denial that they need help. They're there for that person, but they also have resources and things in your local communities, support groups, therapy, where you can work on yourself, where you can go and you can get that out and you can talk about it. You can't fix the person. You're not enabling them, but there are going to be things that you need to take care of within yourself in order to make sure that you are not burning yourself out, that you're not carrying around guilt that you shouldn't be carrying around. And you need to make sure that you're not burning yourself out so that you can take care of your life and the things that you are responsible for. So, and that's where your focus needs to be. And therapy and those outside resources can help you make sure that that's what you're doing, and they can help you put together a rest and relaxation plan, a self-help or a self-improvement plan that includes self-care, so that you can make sure that you are doing for yourself what you need to do so that you can be in optimal condition to live out your life and to help those that you truly do need to help, the ones that you are actually responsible for, which is not everyone. And those that don't want help, you're not responsible for them. They get to make those choices. So it's not an easy place to be. It's very difficult, but just remember, you can't fix a person, and you should not enable them. And if you are being manipulated into doing things to that person that you don't want to, there needs to be a buffer and boundaries that are established so that you can stay away and not get sucked up into that. It's going to be healthier for you and for the other person that you're dealing with. All right. Well, that was today's segment. That was our coaching. And so I hope it's helped somebody out there. Anyways, you guys have a great Thursday. I will see you for the next episode. This is Christine Peckstein with Move Into Action. If you'd like more life management, coaching, and training materials and so forth, please head to my website. It is moveintoaction.com. I will see you next time.